शुरुआत इसी से करना चाह रहा हूँ कि आज पूरे देश में इस वक्त की जो मैं बात करूँ, पूरे देश में एक बड़ा नेशनलिस्ट माहौल खराब है और बड़ा भारत माता की जय और बड़ा मतलब जिस तरह से जो माहौल है और उसमें जो है आर्मी का या मतलब मिलिट्री के जो लोग हैं उनको काफ़ी टीवी चैनल से बुला बुला के और एक एग्रेसिव पोस्चरिंग हो रही है। उस पोस्चरिंग को मैं उस पर आना चाह रहा हूँ कि क्या आर्मी का पॉलिटिसाइजेशन, जो काफ़ी बड़े बड़े जनरल्स आ रहे हैं, रिटायर्ड एक्सपर्ट्स आ रहे हैं, वो लगातार उस तरह की भाषा जो टीवी पे बोल रहे हैं, जो अर्नब गोस्वामी से भी ज़्यादा मतलब खतरनाक है। तो मैं ये पूछना चाह रहा हूँ कि ये पॉलिटिसाइजेशन ऑफ आर्म फोर्सेज जो कि सेक्युलर रहे हैं, अभी तक सेक्युलर रहे हैं और वी आर ऑल प्राउड ऑफ इट। आप एक फौजी मैं कह सकता हूँ उस संदर्भ में, तो जिन्होंने मतलब इंडिया की आर्मी को या इंडिया की नेवल फोर्सेस को लीड किया, आपको क्या लगता है इसमें?
ये कोई नई बात नहीं है, ना ये नया प्रोग्राम है। ये इनका प्रोग्राम जो ओवरऑल है वो मिलिटराइजेशन ऑफ द पॉलिटी का प्रोग्राम है, जो इन्होंने मुसोलिनी और हिटलर से लिया था और उन ज़माने से स्टार्ट किया जब ये सैनिक स्कूल, मिलिट्री स्कूल, मोस्टली मिलिट्री स्कूल और एक ऐसा माहौल बनाने की कोशिश की कि जो नेशनलिस्ट है वो मिलिट्री वाला भी, मिलिट्री उसकी आउटलुक भी है, पर्सपेक्टिव भी है, क्योंकि ये उससे आगे नहीं जानते थे कुछ भी। ये भारत को बनाने की इनके पास कोई योजना नहीं थी, ना कुछ आइडियाज़ थे। इनके आइडियाज़ उस ज़माने में 1925 में जब ये फॉर्म हुए थे तो अंग्रेज़ों ने अंग्रेजी हुकूमत ने, ब्रिटिश साम्राज्यवाद ने 3 ऑर्गेनाइजेशन शुरू की। एक तो राष्ट्रीय स्वयं सेवक था और एक उसमें अकाली दल, शिरोमणि अकाली दल, और तीसरा था जमाते इस्लामी। इनका जन्मदिन या इनका जन्म उसी साल हुआ, तीनों का जन्म उसी साल हुआ, जबकि उसके पहले 1857 में उनकी पॉलिसी डिवाइड एंड रूल। उसके बाद कांग्रेस की एक फ्रीडम मूवमेंट आई, अब समझे फ्रीडम मूवमेंट आई, कांग्रेस की नहीं, देश में फ्रीडम मूवमेंट आई, खिलाफत मूवमेंट आई, जिससे कि सब लोग इकट्ठा हो गए। तो इनको फिर डर लगा, क्योंकि जो बूथ है 1857 का वो कभी नहीं गया। उस बूथ में सब लोग एक हो गए थे, सिर्फ कई लोगों ने गद्दारी करी और कुछ कोऑर्डिनेशन नहीं हुआ, इसलिए वो बड़ी बारीकी से हारे। और ये 1857 में एक बात कहना चाहता हूँ, क्योंकि आपसे बात कर रहा हूँ, ये सिर्फ एक साल नहीं हुआ, मई 87 से 2-3 महीने में नहीं हुआ, ये पूरे एक साल चला, पूरे एक साल लड़ाई हुई। करोड़ों लोग, इस पर किताबें लिखी गई हैं, इस पर बहुत ही अच्छी किताबें लिखी गई हैं। अनकोऑर्डिनेटेड होने के अलावा लोगों का ये रिवोल्ट था, पीपल रिवोल्ट था सभी। उसमें तालुकदार थे, राजा थे, तो क्या हुआ उससे फर्क नहीं हुआ। तो ये जो खौफ इनको हुआ ब्रिटिश साम्राज्य को, उसको डिवाइड करने, उसको तोड़ने का एक ही तरीका इनको पालन था, और वो 1925 में उसको और उन्होंने विरोध किया। तो तब तक लोकमान्य तिलक, गांधी जी, ऐसे लोगों का देश की आज़ादी का नारा, लाहौर रेजोल्यूशन हुआ, तो तब से इनका ये प्रोग्राम स्टार्ट हुआ। तो अभी अगर ये प्रोग्राम, इनका तो मेन प्रोग्राम यही है कि अगर हम 10,000 बड़े अफसरों को, चाहे वो मिलिट्री के हों, चाहे सिविल सर्विस के हों, चाहे और सर्विसेज के हों, टेलीकॉम के हों, उनको जो हमारी आइडियोलॉजी को बिलीव करते हैं, उनको पोजीशन में ला के रख दें, तो हमारा बहुत सा काम हो जाएगा। ये इनकी गलतफहमी है। लेकिन शॉर्ट टर्म में जब ये नारे तो रोज़ लगा रहे हैं, नए नारे रोज़ लगा रहे हैं, नारे लगाने में बहुत देर है
जी,
तो उससे ये समझते हैं। और इलेक्शन में भी आपने देखा कि क्योंकि फूट थी पार्लियामेंट्री इलेक्शन में, एक पार्लियामेंट्री इलेक्शन होता है, एक देश की मूवमेंट होती है। पार्लियामेंट्री इलेक्शन में जो दूसरी पार्टी थी उनमें कोई मेल नहीं था। ये ऐसे नहीं हुआ, ये सोची समझी बात थी कि अब आपकी टर्न है, हमने 10 साल कर लिया, अब आप कर लीजिए।
मतलब आप कह रहे हैं कि आप ये कह रहे हैं कि कांग्रेस वाज इंटरेस्टेड टू गेट हिम बैक।
नॉट ओनली कांग्रेस, वही समाजवादी पार्टी, ऑल पार्टी,
सब चाहते थे कि इनको मौका दे दिया जाए,
उनको भी
कि
करिए,
इसलिए
क्योंकि हम और आप एक ही हैं, हमारे पे मास्टर एक हैं, हमारे मास्टर एक
ये
हैं।
आपने बहुत पहले मेरे को एक बात बोली थी जो मैं आज भी सबके सामने बोलता हूँ। मैंने कहा कि मैं जब एडमिरल भागवत से मिला तो उन्होंने मेरे को कहा कि भारत के अंदर जो फांसीवाद आएगा वो कॉर्पोरेट फैसिज्म, और वाकई में वो कॉर्पोरेट फैसिज्म के दौर को हम देख रहे हैं कि कॉर्पोरेट फंड कर रहा है और रिलीजियस ठग
क्योंकि
उसको इस्तेमाल कर रहे हैं।
डेफिनेशन ही फैसिज्म की है, when corporate power and political power comes together,
यस,
it is fascism. फैसिज्म की जो फंडामेंटल डिसीजन मसोलिनी ने दी थी वो ये कि कॉर्पोरेट पावर combined with political power and become one, that means fascism. There is no other definition. There is no definition of communal fascism. There is no such thing as communal fascism.
but it was I remember reading M.N. Roy's volume on fascism, very extraordinary work in 1930, and he mentioned that Indian fascism will be different, and he said Indian fascism will be cultural fascism, where you're creating a messianic image, a Superman.
So that is quite clear, but cultural fascism is only a road to fascism.
Yeah,
It is not fascism. Fascism remains. So it is not culture. Even if that culture is spread, the culture is spread by the capitalist class.
yeah, that's what I was saying.
Because all funding of all organizations in Hindustan is done by the corporate.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Now,
Corporate is encouraging those religious.
No, funding them.
Yeah.
It has got a strategy. It has got a strategy to divide people on caste, communal, other community ground, and create violence, create hatred. All these are parts of it. So that you can call it culture, but cultural is the detail of the program.
Create a kind of Superman kind of image of one individual, and then
Well,
anybody who disagrees.
I can't agree with that one Superman image, because there's not one Superman, there are many Supermen. But basically यहाँ पर even the intelligence organizations today, the intelligence organizations in the city of Bombay, for example, are all controlled and owned by the corporate sector. The biggest ones, I don't have to take names.
Yeah. No, that's
Should have to.
Yeah.
And they have recruited. Who are they recruited? This is an interesting detail. They have recruited ex-IB officers, personnel, ex-RLAW personnel, ex-army people, ex-police people in general, and other people who are so-called analysts in the media, think tanks.
As well as secretaries,
all kind of people. अभी तो ये नए फाउंडेशन जो कर रहे हैं वो तो अलग बात है, लेकिन यहाँ पर जो ऑर्गेनाइजेशन है वो इस तरीके से रन करता है.
Isn't it not very dangerous trend? If those who are like our decision makers are joining these institutions, that means they might have done something, bobbed off with them.
Actually, that it is extra constitutional organization. It is extra state. It is outside the state functions. Only the state can do it. But these are outside the state, so they have become more powerful than the state. Whichever state is there, whether it's some other party or something, they will have to reconcile with the position that today the private intelligence organization, which came as a front to business intelligence or economic intelligence, starts off in the economic intelligence, by market intelligence हम कर रहे हैं. लेकिन कर क्या रहे हैं वो? ये हमारी पूरी all totality of the intelligence
At a place in Uttarakhand where I think some big companies wanted to build up an international school, where the people protested, and those who were like protesting, they were beaten up by the gangs of these people.
Vigilante group.
Yes.
So who's in command?
And the state government
The state is not in command.
Yes.
The state is not in command. Very interesting situation. That the state is already not in command in so many sectors, organizations, times and periods. There is no state.
But is it not in command, or is it just facilitating things or making things available like a real estate agent?
Yes, both.
What we see situation in Jharkhand or Chhattisgarh or
everywhere in all the Adivasi areas. And all the areas, land is a very major thing, because there is nothing produced in India which is really competitive in the world. But land is got eternal value, it's got increasing value. So both black money operations, the shadow economy, which is a very large part of India's economy and the world economy, are part of this whole thing. It is actually a super commercial organization. Basically, you can call it corporate class, but actually it is global finance capital. Because global, the capital in India, the capitalist class in India has allied itself with the
International
financial
global financial.
entirely in their thinking, in Davos, at the
Yes,
the
yeah.
World Economic Forum, in the representation on all the biggest influence groups in the United States, for example, Europe, like Rand Corporation, like Heritage, like American Enterprise Institute. You can name anything. Bilderberg Group is one of the biggest and most influential and most powerful of these groups. You see how many Indians are there.
So that
it's a very exclusive group.
So that means these international corporations,
Yeah.
because now they are
International
facing
organization.
organization are facing a great credibility crisis, and because it's about to collapse now, the capitalist world is collapsing.
Well-
do you think they are creating hysteria or war mongering for that purpose?
बहुत ही efficient, बहुत ही fast, बहुत ही वर्ल्ड वाइड नेटवर्क बना दिया है कैपिटलिस्ट इकोनॉमीज में, क्योंकि चीन और रशिया की इकोनॉमी भी कैपिटलिस्ट की तरह है, मार्केट इकोनॉमी है।
बिल्कुल।
और सोशलिस्ट ये मार्केट इकोनॉमी में चाइनीज़ कैरेक्टरिस्टिक्स, ये सब अलग बातें हैं, लेकिन ऐसा हुआ है। तो
मेरा जो क्यों नहीं
उनका जो ऑर्गेनाइजेशन बहुत, आप देखिए इंटरनेशनल लेबर ऑर्गेनाइजेशन ऑलमोस्ट डेड, वर्कर्स फेडरल ट्रेड यूनियन वगैरह ऑलमोst dead. The internal trade unions are more into economisms, into bonus, and economism has been there for a while. This is a part of the game. This is the way they have structured the world, and this is the way they are playing it. They may be in their crisis. Of course, they are in crisis because capitalism, by definition, this super capitalism, the neoliberal capitalism,
Yes.
is a dead end.
Yeah.
It's a dead end. In the short run, it appears very dazzling.
Yes.
It appears that बहुत प्रोग्रेस हो रही है, बहुत जीडीपी हो रही है। जीडीपी किसके लिए हो रही है?
ये हाँ, basically हाँ।
इनइक्वालिटी के लिए। किस ग्रोथ के हुआ है? ग्रोथ मीन्स डिस्ट्रॉइंग द वर्ल्ड, एक्चुअली डिस्ट्रॉइंग वाटर, destroying air, destroying rivers, destroying mountains, destroying
Destroying the whole culture of the people.
Yeah, culture of people, destroying the forest.
Yes.
And what is left? Destroying the air.
And handing them over to the private.
Privatization, of course. This is nomenclature.
Yeah.
This changes everything. It's a fantastic book.
Yes.
Part of the second in the series, or first was the
Yeah,
Shock Doctrine.
Yes, I have that book.
तो अब इन्होंने बहुत ही बारीकी से ये बातें कही हैं और समझाई हैं कि ये तो डेड एंड है ही है, लेकिन उस डेड एंड के आने के बाद व्हाट हैव दे डन? आई रोट अ पेपर व्हिच आई विल गिव यू अ कॉपी ऑफ. It is called The Destruction of Nations, Society, Civilizations and Society. And I was invited by Dr. Mahathir in the World Forum in Kuala Lumpur.
अच्छा, Mahathir Mohamad.
I gave that lecture. Please have a look at it. Because it is no less than the destruction of nations, peoples, societies and civilization.
Absolutely.
Whole civilization.
I agree with that.
And for a moment we might think that हमारे हिंदुस्तान में we have escaped that thing. But what escape is this? At what cost are we escaping? The actual bombing.
Yes.
That is another question which is before the people of India, not before us. So what are they? Anywhere where they start, they can invade. Anywhere where they can call it terrorists. Well, they are the biggest terrorists in the world because war against children, war against women, war against old people. War means walking with machine guns, thundering and firing from the air.
Yes.
All kinds of bombs and with drones and missiles. Is nothing else but terrorism at a very large scale for these terrorists who kill 20, 30, 40, who are also their terrorists.
Yes.
Because they have been trained by them, they have been supplied by weapons from them, they have been organized by them, they have provided intelligence and communication with them. many of them are, the core groups are actually citizens of the West.
Yes, yes.
Whether it's Europe or whether it's Canada,
Is
whether
it-
it's America, they keep on saying we are fighting ISIL, but who's ISIL? ISIL is created Al-Qaeda. Who's Al-Qaeda? Al-Qaeda and their creation means database in Afghanistan, which they funded. And some of their friends in the
Yes.
Middle East funded. I won't name them because
Yeah, definitely.
हमारा
But,
तेल वाल वहाँ से आता है. So what are they doing? They are destroying society. I'll give you one example, concrete example. The Iraqi civilization society was one of the most advanced in the world.
yeah.
Because women had a primary place in it. Right. Take Libya, Gaddafi, I'm not talking about his son.
Yes.
उसके बेटे की बात नहीं कर रहे हैं, वो तो उनका आदमी हो गया जब वो लंदन स्कूल ऑफ इकोनॉमिक्स में गया. पढ़ने तो उसकी थीसिस वगैरह इन लोगों ने लिखी है, तो हज़ारों साल 200 साल 300 साल से इनकी प्रैक्टिस है.
जी.
और उनके फंडिंग जो है वो ब्लेयर और इसकी क्या नाम है उसका, जो फ्रांस का प्रेसिडेंट था,
सरकोजी.
उनकी फंडिंग इन्होंने करी. उनको उन्होंने समझा, गद्दाफी जैसे बढ़ते गए उम्र में, उन्होंने समझा कि इनसे समझौता हो सकता है, इनसे सौदा हो सकता है,
जी.
इनसे अमन या शांति खरीदी जा सकती है. लेकिन वो तो एक सपना. लेकिन गद्दाफी ने क्या किया? गद्दाफी ने अफ्रीकन डेवलपमेंट बैंक खोला. गद्दाफी ने अफ्रीकन मॉनेटरी यूनियन की. गद्दाफी ने सबसे बड़ी पानी की स्कीम जो है लीबिया के लिए वो चलाई. गद्दाफी ने गोल्डन दीनार, लिबियन दीनार की बात नहीं करी. वो चाहता था कि गोल्डन दीनार हो, क्योंकि देन दिस करेंसी मैनिपुलेशन
Yes.
which are a very large part of this
Western.
Western operation. It is an operation.
Yes.
You and I are able to talk today. We can consider, we can thank Allah, we can thank Allah.
Yeah.
But tomorrow we may not be able to talk.
Yeah.
Instead of 86-year-old का inform कर दिया passport.
जी.
So we are living under actual operational conditions of wars of war. Look at Palestine. इससे बड़ी जाति क्या हो सकती है? बच्चों को मारते जाते हैं. But who is behind that? It's the Zionist banking system. The Zionist banking system, of which the examples are the Goldman Sachs, the Rothschilds, the Rockefellers, the Bilderberg Group. They are the operators. They are the biggest bankers. They manipulate everything. They manipulate all prices, all controls,
Yes.
all banking operations. So when we drifted away from your main question, which is the
Militarization.
or the politicization of the armed forces, that has been their strategy from 1998 in one way or the other. And they are continuing with it. And there will always be enough people who will, but they don't know what is the cost of it.
That's
Because
what
by destroying the secular character and the apolitical character of the armed forces, you are creating conditions for ultimate breakup of the country. Because that is one stabilizing force. Everybody fails, armed forces are failed. Whether in disaster relief or in law and order situations or in other situations. Or the defense of the country. Imagine what will be the defense of the country if the armed forces themselves are at loggerheads with each other. Because they cannot be. We are a very diverse country.
Yes.
There is no one community which has a majority in the armed forces. They are from different languages, different regions, different thinking, different ideas. So that they are trying to bring the same monotheism or monotheism, monopoly of ideas into the armed forces. Well, they are doing it, they will cause disruption. That's all at the moment I will say.
And everything that is coming in the discussion here, anything they are bringing army as if they represent the armed forces and all other don't represent them.
No, they don't represent the armed forces. They have humiliated the armed forces.
Yes.
They have humiliated the veterans. If they humiliate जो पूर्व सैनिक हैं,
जी बिल्कुल. दिल्ली में भी
सबसे बड़ी
बैठे
बात क्या, उनको लात मारी, उनको CRPF लगा दी, उनको उनके यूनिफॉर्म फाड़ दिए. तो फिर जंतर मंतर में आपने देखा सब जगह, हर जगह वो बेइज्जती करते हैं. In fact, the title of my book in 2001 was Betrayal of the Armed Forces. It was not that they were able to relieve me of the office of the CNS, but that was one of the steps to a betrayal of the armed forces. The armed forces, whole armed forces felt betrayed. Because if the chief is dealt with in this summary, arbitrary,
absolutely.
unjust, unwarranted manner for reasons which they never stated, because Atal Bihari Vajpayee took back his word
Yeah.
that I was a threat to national security at Goa when people felt that. And in any case, they lost the vote of confidence in Parliament on my question.
Yes.
So they are playing a very dangerous game, but they will play. The character of these organizations, right wing, Hindutva organizations,
Yes, I was just saying that.
that they are, you cannot correct it. While you are in my talking, they will not be correct.
Yes, yes.
Because they are impelled in that direction. The whole militarization is part of the ideology of
But the interesting part is that those who are like people like you, who are very, very minority in uniform, I would say, who talk of peace, who don't think that war is solution for anything.
Oh, war is not a solution.
And
I
very,
think-
no,
I slightly differ with you. Soldiers never want war.
Yes,
They are
that's-
forced into war. They are ordered to be at war. It is the government of the day and the political class
Yes, absolutely.
which has reasons to
I
go
agree
to
with
war
that.
and impel the armed forces. The armed forces are not warmongers, let's put it that way. In India, certainly not.
Yes.
And even in the other countries, soldiers.
I come from Uttarakhand, where everybody, everyone from the family actually, one
Is in
person in
the-
the armed
in the
forces.
force.
And I know when they go to the, after छुट्टी के बाद जब जाते हैं अपने वहाँ पर तो कैसे उनके आंसू रहते हैं, घर में चिट्ठियाँ आती हैं,
हाँ।
तो बोलते हैं कि अकेले हैं और दूर पे हैं and doing their duty and very disciplined,
They are
very.
doing their duty, they are doing their
Yeah.
duty for nothing at all, for no paisa.
जी.
Paisa, no compensation for the kind of duty that they
Yeah.
do.
So-
But the thing is that
They are not, warmongers or
not at
crying
all.
and.
Not at all. In fact, we are peace mongers.
हाँ.
I may say.
अब मैं ये सोचता
The
हूँ कि
best people to make peace is the soldiers.
Yes.
I'm not talking about Pakistan. Pakistan is
Yeah.
Pakistan is an exceptional issue because Pakistan army and Pakistan ruling establishment is a puppet of the Western imperialist system.
and
It is a puppet.
and also using religion for.
Also using religion is used as a tool
Yes.
to throw dust in the eyes of the people of Pakistan.
Absolutely.
But the Pakistan military is an exception right from the beginning it was. 1952 onwards it has been an exception and they have been responsible for right-wing extremism in Pakistan.
Yeah.
Particularly people like General Zia and some of his
जो अभी एक स्लोगन चला भारत माता की जय, वो तो आर्मी के अलग अलग यूनिट्स हैं.
बहुत
हमारा गढ़वाल रेजिमेंट था तो बोलते बद्री विशाल लाल की जय, किसी का कोई भद्रकाली की जय, किसी कहीं पर.
भारत माता की जय का इशू नहीं है ये. रोज चूंकि ये इनके दिमाग में कुछ और है ही नहीं, सिर्फ ये निकालते हैं कल और कोई और
अब रोज उसको नई चीज की
परसों
दीप
को
आ
नई
जाएगा,
चीज
किसी दिन और चीज आ
निकालते हैं.
जाएगा.
उसको मेरे ख्याल हमें इतनी फिक्र नहीं करनी चाहिए. इतनी फिक्र नहीं, जो लिखने वाले हैं वो जानते हैं, सब हिस्टोरियंस हैं, कई लोगों ने
जी,
बहुत
तो-
अच्छे लेख लिखे
लेकिन
हैं.
जब वो आर्मी के वेटरन्स को बुला करके और वो चिल्ला चिल्ला के टीवी पे बोलते हैं कि भारत माता की जय नहीं बोलोगे तो तुम देशद्रोही हो.
हाँ.
तो मैंने कहा कि भागवत साहब तो बहुत से बैटल्स में गए हैं तो जो बोलने वाले हैं वो तो ज़्यादा बैटल्स में नहीं गए हैं, लेकिन आप लोगों ने तो कई वॉर देखे
कौन सी
हैं.
बैटल इन्होंने देखी और जिन स्टेट से ये लोग आते हैं, मैं ये भी कहूँगा,
बिल्कुल, absolutely.
कहना नहीं चाहिए, वहाँ के एक भी
एक
सोल्जर नहीं
नहीं, बिल्कुल मैं उस बात
भाई
को बहुत
नहीं।
बार बोला हूँ कि
तो आप कौन सी बात कर रहे हैं? आप
सही
कौन सी बात?
बिल्कुल जिन स्टेट से आते हैं वो लोग कुछ बोलते
बल्कि
नहीं.
मैं ये कहूँगा कि ये जो पुलिस को
हम्म,
एक अपना मेन हथौड़ा बना रहे हैं कि स्टूडेंट्स को पीटो,
हाँ जी.
मजदूरों को पीटो, आदिवासियों को पीटो, उनकी ज़मीनें छीनो, जितनी भी लोग, जैसे आज़ादी हमको किस चीज़ से चाहिए, जैसे कन्हैया ने कहा है, एक अच्छी बात उन्होंने कही है, सिंपल लैंग्वेज में कही है
जी जी जी
कि
बिल्कुल.
हमें किन किन चीज़ों से आज़ादी की. तो ये पुलिस को यूज़ कर रहे हैं, ये पैरामिलिट्री को यूज़ कर रहे हैं, पैरामिलिट्री को यूज़ ऐसे भी कर रहे हैं, पैरामिलिट्री को मिलिट्री से ऊपर उड़ा रहे हैं
जी, जी,
अपने
जी.
पे
जी,
अलाउंसेस
जी,
और
बिल्कुल.
स्टेटस में, प्रमोशंस में, कि it will be a counter foil to the armed forces. It is complete rubbish to think that the paramilitary forces can be a counter foil for the armed.
Yeah, absolutely.
There is no discipline, there is not the kind of discipline, not
Yes.
the kind of training, not the kind of commitment, not the kind of discipline which the armed forces have. Enjoy
Yes.
still today.
Yes, definitely.
They do.
Definitely.
I am proud of the armed forces.
Yes.
There is no question. And why, what, is there no contradiction between the slogan that Lal Bahadur Shastri ji and
Jai Jawan,
others
Jai
gave
Kisan.
about Jai Jawan and Jai Kisan, then why are you bringing all these
Yeah.
other things into it? That's a
And-
simple answer to this.
Yeah, political slogan said Bhagat Singh, इनकलाब जिंदाबाद और सुभाष बोस
जब
जय
उनके
हिंद।
बीच में जाते हैं तब कहते हैं कि हम आर्म फोर्सेस पब्लिक डे को बोलते हैं कि हम बहुत हैं, जब इंडिपेंडेंस डे को लाल किले से बोलते हैं कि हम हैं बहुत प्राउड अपने आर्म फोर्सेस में। एक्चुअल फैक्ट व्हाट आर दे अप टू? व्हाट आर दे? बट
वो केवल सेलिब्रेट करना चाहते हैं दूसरे का मार्टरडम।
these are dangerous tendencies and they should never be in a republican state like us.
Absolutely.
They have no place in a republican state, and I think the Supreme Court has ruled on it, the Apex Court has ruled on it, the Constitution recognizes no such entity. In fact, अगर कोई पॉलिटिकल इकोनॉमिक संवाद करना है तो कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन में जाना है, तो कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन डॉक्टर अम्बेडकर की एक बहुत बड़ी कॉन्ट्रीब्यूशन है, और कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन में भी आप आर्टिकल 39 डायरेक्टिव प्रिंसिपल्स ऑफ स्टेट पॉलिसी में जाइए, क्योंकि वही कहता है जो स्टेट को करना है।
जी, डायरेक्टिंग द स्टेट।
39A, 39B, 39C, जो भी है, that there shall be no concentration of wealth,
Yes.
that the resources of the state
Yes.
will be used for the common good,
Of the people.
that there will be all means will be taken to provide employment, education, health, equality of opportunity. In fact, the fundamental rights can only sustain themselves if you sustain the directive principles. And actually, the directive principles, after 60 years of the Constitution, almost 60 years, have actually become the fundamental rights of the people.
Yes.
They have.
Absolutely.
Because the word shall is used, not may. The state may.
Yes.
The word shall is to be used. And surely the state cannot, the government of the day
Yes.
cannot say that we haven't got the resources now to implement the directive principles.
But they are actually
They were
betraying
not
the directive
justiciable.
principle. You are saying when they are betraying the directive principle of the
So
state.
not only betraying, they are defying.
Yes, that's
They are
the-
violating. Because you cannot say after 60 years that these are just because it was said they are non-justiciable.
Yes.
They will not remain forever justiciable, because otherwise other forces,
Yes, yes.
other powerful
Yes.
forces of the oppressed.
Dr. Ambedkar wanted
Yeah, he said-
nationalization of land.
he said this.
He wanted education to be,
Of course.
be in the hands of the state.
Of course.
He wanted health to be with the
Of
people.
course, completely.
State has
State has privatized it.
Yeah.
It was privatizing it at a very fast pace, because that is neoliberal capitalism. Privatization and deregulation of corporate
Yeah.
power and reduction of their burden of tax, or shall I say their rates
Yeah.
of taxation, and increase of the burden of taxes and revenues on the people of the
So this
country who already have
but the
nothing.
interesting part is that the capitalist countries say, capitalist societies, we don't want to regulate people, but in our country, we are deregulating the corporate, over-regulating the people.
Yes, that's what it is.
हर एक का स्टूपिंग हो रहा है, हर एक का सोशल मीडिया पे चेकिंग हो रहा है,
हाँ।
हर एक को थ्रेट में रोज सुबह शाम जो है, you are getting some threat that you will be lynched and then there are justification.
तो लिंचिंग तो हो ही रही है, बच्चों को लिंचिंग कर रहे हैं, बड़ों को लिंचिंग कर रहे हैं। अगर आपका नाम इस एक तरफ का है तो उनको लिंचिंग कर रहे हैं। क्या कर रहे हैं? हर एक दिन जो भी कहें, फैक्ट है, आप इंसिडेंट रिपोर्ट अगर करिए, आप सेंट्रल ब्यूरो ऑफ क्राइम्स न्यू दिल्ली में उनके ही फिगर लीजिए, और क्या हो रहा है? किसानों की आत्महत्या,
हाँ जी, बिल्कुल।
आत्महत्या पॉलिसी ड्रिवन है। इट इज नॉट ओनली मानसून ड्रिवन और वाटर,
No,
इट इज पॉलिसी ड्रिवन.
It's
Because you have given the pass to the money lender.
But it's-
The money lender is also the fertilizer seller, fertilizer agent. He is also the seed agent. He is also the purchasing agent. The monopoly cotton scheme of Maharashtra is more or less standing demolished. Procurement is demolished. You are trying to demolish or dismantle the public distribution system in one way or the other through various
It's
kinds
also
of.
like, it's also like that the Western countries and the WTO regime giving more subsidy to their farmers, but asking us not to give, basically forcing the farmer to leave their profession
Yes.
or traditional occupation and hand it over to the corporation.
More than living is the alienation of land and water from the common people of India.
And then handing
Because
over to the
water-
corporation.
Handing over to the corporation. Water, basic as water is being privatized.
So handing over our food security basically to the private companies.
security, water security, the very existence,
So that means that our national security under the threat.
there is almost nil. What will the armed forces and other military or paramilitary organizations in the country do if you hand over the sovereignty of the country through other means? I mean, look at the kind of inroads which have been made in the telecom sector. Look at the kind of schemes, the idea that they have, that they will implement the logistic support agreement, the BICA agreement with the US, and the other agreement, which means allow bases in this country for foreigners. Then what did we fight freedom for? If you give extra territorial rights, already the World Bank, IMF, and already the lending institutions of the Western countries, Washington conferences, have exercised dominant power on the economic policies of this country. Already, the operations of the stock market is where equity is coming and owned by foreigners in industry, where increasingly actually round tripping of black money is taking place, whether it's to Mauritius or whether it's to Singapore or whether it's to other countries. So what is happening? You are virtually allowed you are closing your eyes like an ostrich when all this black money is being speculated, and occasionally when some small exposure, I call it a small exposure, they call it the biggest exposure of this Fonseca thing which has come 2 days before.
Yes.
Because basically nothing changes. Nothing changes. The amount of black money that is going out of the country, the amount of legal money that is going out of the country, $250,000 per year is allowed to individuals. What is it? It's the under-invoicing, over-invoicing of imports and under-invoicing of exports. All this is part of the transfer pricing, patent laws, the electricity board, the privatization of the electricity board, and
so nobody is talking about those things, and they are talking about the so-called physical nationalism, and this is the whole debate. And the nationalism in the sense is the competition is Pakistan. Debate of nationalism and then sedition imposed on people, and then bringing territories like Kashmir and into the political discussion. Don't you think that Kashmir matter? Every political party feel that Kashmir is part of India. Nobody is doubting that.
No.
So why is this issue of Kashmir and thing coming into political discussion here for the electoral purposes?
It is advantageous for them to create a situation with, and this has been going on for some time, with the separatist elements, with the dissident elements, let's say militant elements in the Kashmir polity, which are a very minority, they are extreme minority, to bring them into focus, to give the appearance that there is an open Kashmir question. There is no open Kashmir question, none at all, except for Pakistan occupied Kashmir.
Yes.
And I don't personally care for anything which China may say about this Kashmir question, because I think their policy is most unfortunate. Even though President Xi himself is an enlightened person, he came to India, he tried his best to. But there are many elements in China, as there are elements in India, who wish to see
The conflict
situation.
But politically, Kashmir question is
there is no
undisputed for
Kashmir
India.
question as far as I am concerned. Because Kashmir acceded to India and
It's a legal accession and
it's a completely legal accession, and instruments of accession were signed, and there is no going back on that. Whatever they want to say, they can say. Because if the Pakistani army and the Pakistani politicians think that they can rake up the Kashmir issue, they have no business, no locus, no standing on the issue of Kashmir. That has been said enough times, enough ways.
But then what happens is that when these people raise these issues and when there are protests in the valley, Kashmir valley and elsewhere, then they will say, oh, in लोगों को पाकिस्तान चला जाना चाहिए, Kashmir हमारा. For them, it's a kind of geographical entity. We want the people have to be,
People of Kashmir are very good people. They have always been with India, majority of the people, but it is also the responsibility and obligation of the administration in the center and the state to see that justice, economic, social, political is actually done. Plan schemes are actually implemented, and projects are implemented. And what is the population of the Kashmiri youth? Just a little bit, nothing. They have to be given avenues have to be created for their employment. They have to be treated when they come to other parts of India.
Yes, yes.
Like even the northeast people are treated badly.
Absolutely.
Or other people are treated badly who may have a darker skin in India. They have to be treated with the respect which is due to them.
Yes,
Which
yes.
is due to any people of any state.
Yes.
Any whether it's the Adivasis, whether it is the Dalits, whether it is the other people who are marginalized. Everybody has to be treated with respect due to a citizen of India.
A citizen of
and
India.
that respect is due from the highest office of the land,
Yes.
and not only.
So as a person in the uniform who has fought so many battles, how do you think that this sedition, for every small thing, every criticism we are bringing national issue that we are a threat to national integration?
As I've said before, they have a emptiness. They have a vacuum. They have nothing which is creative and positive except a few schemes that they have. The Prime Minister has, that one has to be given a credit. Some schemes have been positive, but even they lack substance. They lack the drive, because you cannot announce a scheme every day and say that it will be implemented. And many of the schemes are only changes of word. The Constitution is the basic thing. If we don't respect the Constitution in letter and in spirit, and as by judgments of the Supreme Court of India, then we are respecting nothing. Then their slogans mean nothing. But if there is nothing which is being said, which is not in the Constitution.
Yes.
As we discussed the directive principles of state policy
Yes.
just now. There is nothing new. You can give it the name of this Pradhan Mantri Yojana and that Pradhan Mantri Yojana, but it all derives from the constitutional mandate, from the Constitution.
How do there was a 2-3 years back I was speaking to a senior officer in the army, and he was saying Chhattisgarh में नक्सली अपने ही लोग हैं. They are not from any outside country. They are fighting. But this year when I was coming to Mumbai, in a train I had a person from CISF, and he transferred here, and he was in Chhattisgarh earlier. He says that सारे आदिवासी जो है वो नक्सलियों के साथ मिले हुए हैं. नक्सलियों की संख्या बहुत कम है, लेकिन आदिवासी जो है उनको जो है वो सपोर्ट करते रहते हैं, और ये बहुत गलत बात है. 60 ईयर्स तो ये मेरे को ऐसा लगा कि जो अभी बोला, मैंने पहले कुछ जो अधिकारी है, लेकिन अभी आदमी आके बोलता है कि ये सारा, क्योंकि वो दूसरी जगह से जाता है. नाउ द सेम पर्सन डिस्कसिंग थिंग बोला कि हरियाणा में जाटों के साथ बहुत अन्याय हुआ है, और ये वजह ना हरियाणा से जाट. तो मैंने उनको कहा कि देखिए, जब जाटों के साथ अन्याय हो रहा है तो यू आर सो सेंटिमेंटल कि आप बोलें कि स्टेट ने तो हमारे साथ बहुत गड़बड़ की है. जब आप छत्तीसगढ़ में जाते हैं तब आप दोनों सोचते हैं कि आदिवासी के साथ में
CISF की जो वैल्यू सिस्टम है, उनकी जो ऑर्गेनाइजेशन का व्यू है, उसके बारे में कमेंट नहीं कर सकता, क्योंकि वो अलग है.
मेरे को
वो अलग है. लेकिन जहाँ तक आर्म फोर्सेस की बात है, आर्मी और एयरफोर्स की बात है, वहाँ तो चीफ ऑफ आर्मी स्टाफ ने बिल्कुल क्लियरली गवर्नमेंट ऑफ द डे को बोला, और तब यूपीए गवर्नमेंट थी, कि द आर्मी कैन नॉट बी यूज इन योर सो कॉल्ड सेंट्रल इंडिया, because we will not fight against the people, our own people, who are not wanting any secession from this country. The key word is secession.
Yes, yes. They are part of India.
They are engaged in a political and economic struggle, right? Which have other means to be solved of. But they have never stated, nor any of their documents state that they will secede from India. As long as that condition is not there, the army cannot be engaged. Army cannot be put there, and if you engage the army in one form or the other, then it will lead to unpredictable consequences and even perhaps civil war. It is not in the interest of anybody in India. Secondly, the Air Force Chief at that time, the Chief of Air Staff, he very clearly stated that we cannot use the Air Force for bombing, because the Air Force has got munitions which has got a circular error of probability of 8 kilometers. That means if we release it from there, we cannot say that it will go to only one point. It can go anywhere within 8 kilometers, 7 kilometers. That was the figure that he quoted. So there will be collateral damage, and collateral damage is not something which you can just say 8 kilometers, 10 kilometers, 15 kilometers. And when you are working, using aircraft in forest areas, the mountainous hilly areas, you really cannot pinpoint where your enemy is. Secondly, it is like the Vietnam War, where anybody whom they caught and killed was declared a Viet Cong. But there are no moles, and there is nobody's bloodstream or DNA says or his blood group says that he is a Maoist. They are people. So how do you distinguish between the people and the so-called people war group of people who is the Maoist group? So the whole question is, and they themselves have agreed that there's a committee, I think it is called the Supreme Court appointed NC Saxena Committee, which said the issue is of political and economic development. Unless you go to solve the basic problems of the country, not even development, but just education, health, food.
The government of India says these people don't believe, the Maoists don't believe in the Constitution of India.
Who says so? They have never said so.
And then
they have ever said, I don't know.
And then they say that if these people are picking up guns, you don't expect us to respond from flowers or rules.
Well,
how do you respond?
I am not necessarily going to answer this question because for me it is a hypothetical question. Who is picking up the gun where? Who is Salva Judum? Is Salva Judum on? The Supreme Court has got his wisdom, no? If you read the Supreme Court of India's judgment on the Salva Judum case, it says the government of the state shall not kill its own people.
But
it's a very powerful judgment.
People were critiquing that judgment, they were saying it is more as a lecture than the judgment.
They may think so, but then let them say it before the court and see who goes before the contempt of court. Who is deceptive? Because the Supreme Court is the last word on the interpretation of the Constitution and rights of the people of the country.
Yes.
There is nobody else. Nobody else can make any comment like it is disrespectful and it is contempt. I will say, when it suits you, you say that. When it doesn't suit you, you say something else.
They say it's
and what have they done? So they have bypassed the judgment by forming all kinds of groups, giving them all kinds of names. Just now, Mr. Harsh Mandar, who is a former IAS officer, worked in Gujarat also, he has written an article today in The Citizen, which describes the condition in the Bastar.
Yeah, that's very, very terrible conditions.
Yeah, so he's not the only one. Yes. So many have
in fact, this conditions in Bastar.
Whether it is Operation Green Hunt?
Yes, Green Hunt.
Or something else of this government or that government, it is just destructive. It has no contribution to make to peace. No contribution for the people of India. It is a negative, destructive way of dealing with any issue. And secondly, it just so happens that all these lands of the Adivasis and mineral lands have got overlapping contours or boundaries. So, why are we trying to deprive the people of the original owners of this land? Because they are the Adivasis. Yes. Nobody else, not the Aryan, not the non-Aryan, not the somebody else, not the some other invaders. There were many invaders, as Jawaharlal Nehru writes in his Glimpses of World History. The issue is that these people have over the years, they cut off even mahua trees, which is the basic food, basic nutrition, basic even mild mild drink, if you might call it, not alcoholic but non-alcoholic fermented drink, which is both of rice, paddy, as well as mahua and other leaves of the people. Now can you imagine that mahua trees have been cut through the area? Forests have been destroyed even in Dhule.
Yes.
And who benefited? All the forest contractors. Who benefited? All the furniture walas. Where are those trees in the houses and palatial flats of the capitalists in Bombay and elsewhere of the country? And depleted.
So nobody say that Bharat Mata is being threatened in these places, that Adivasis are not getting the rights and the women are being,
Actually, their gods and goddesses have become the gods today. For example, Durga and Kali, goddess Kali, which are worshipped in Bengal and in other areas, are basically, according to many people,
Adivasi.
They are basically Adivasi gods and goddesses. They believe in a cooperative way of life.
Communal life, well, basically.
They believe in collective ownership. They don't believe in
individual ownership.
Private capitalist competition. They don't believe in depriving others. They believe in coopting others, cooperating with others, and having a peaceful, cooperative society. That society, because it is in conflict with the society of greed and profit which you have got going in the rest of the country, in direct violation of the Constitution of India. Again, go back to the Constitution, because no other argument they are prepared to, there is no other authority, their opinion. But the Constitution of India is not the opinion of any particular group of people. It is the document which is the holiest of documents. Even Prime Minister Modi says it is the sacred book of India. So let us then go back to the Constitution of India. Does the Constitution give certain great rights to the Adivasi land scheduled tribe? It says they cannot be alienated.
Yes.
And the whole forest department of the government of India is busy throwing them out in one way or the other, putting some rule or the other. Some clause or some rule which they have themselves found. But we must respect our people.
So India's integrity is basically we are able to respect each other and honor their human rights also.
Of course, absolutely.
And not then give doses from Delhi that you are not saying Bharat Mata or you are not saying.
It is not a relevant issue. It is no issue. Let us, as I said, Jai Jawan, Jai Kisan. We have already got Jai Hind.
Jai.
What does Jai Hind mean? That
Bharat ki Jai.
victory victory to the people, victory to India.
Yeah.
What can be more powerful as leader than Jai Hind?
Yes.
Jai Hind is the slogan and salutation of the Indian Armed Forces, which we took over from the Azad Hind Fauj of Netaji Subhas. So what do you want to say? You want to say Jai Hind is not enough. If you want to say any other thing, you are welcome.
No.
It's a greeting. We have always had a composite culture. And there is no question that people greet each other as per their traditional way.
When the army will be more into the civilian work, then there will be many times questions like the Kashmiris questions the army, and sometimes there are allegations of like rape, molestation, whatever. So anybody, if the Kashmiris say anything, then we say they are anti-national, they are questioning, they are citizen charges. What do you think?
That the Armed Forces Special Powers Act is a matter of some discussion and even controversy in this. But actually the Armed Forces Special Powers Act is only applicable in areas which are really disturbed. And there is certain amount of protection is needed. But the Army's overall record, and I say it with great confidence, because my own nephews have been involved as senior commanders in the armed forces. People like General Atas have been involved. And wherever army has done a shooting like in the Machil or in the Wooler Lake, they have punished their people more heavily than anybody else, with death or life imprisonment or dismissal from service and so on and so forth. Look at this case of the 47 policemen who are being given life imprisonment after how many years?
Yeah, that's...
After how many years?
I think...
Look at the cases in that Meerut, was it Provincial Armed Constabulary or the CRPF, where people have gone and slaughtered whole mahallas. No justice has been given. They have the state has failed in its duty to charge them and bring evidence on them. It is not the fault of the courts. It is the fault of the state, which has made sure that no admissible evidence, solid evidence is presented to the court.
But
so actually people go scot-free.
Definitely somebody asked me a question a few days back that, about Kashmir and Afsar. I say it's a political issue. Why don't the political people put it on army? So armed forces are just doing their duty, what they are asked to do.
Political issue, there is no issue really like Kashmir. I mean, we talked a little
like they want to say, why should we withdraw Afsar?
We actually implement, and what is the problem about autonomy? There have been so many countries, and even in our country, where we have given autonomy to small states and regions. It's a wonderful idea. People have got their own national anthem in the old Soviet Union. They had their own flags. They had their own constitution.
Even the US.
Even the US. So even the US have got the theoretical right to secede exists in the US Constitution. And the laws and so on and so forth. So where is the question of Article 370 is not relevant at all. You are just making an issue out of it. Kashmir, of course, deserves to have autonomy, just like many other states have been given autonomy under, whether it's under the Finance Commission, delegation of financial powers, or administrative powers, or language issues. Which language the state wants to, we created linguistic states, didn't we? That is the biggest example of autonomy given to peoples and states. That was done in 1954, 56 or somewhere of that order. If we could think ahead so so much in advance, and we did not consider that if in Maharashtra Marathi is the official language or the main language of the state, working of the administration. What is the problem about Kashmir? There is no problem.
Yes.
There is just simply no problem. You create the problem because other forces want you to create.
So do you think that AFSA, whether not is now...
No, my personal view is that AFSA should be modified in such a way that it is made applicable by the government, state government or by the central government with just a message saying that AFSPA is now applicable to the district of Anantnag.
A particular
place, and it is applicable for 48 hours or 72 hours. And where the 72-hour deadline is coming to there, and if conditions have normalcy has not been restored, to promulgate it again. Where is the problem? It is something like a curfew. Apparently curfew is applicable in terms of assembly of people. AFSA is proposed in terms of protection of the armed forces who are supposed to be upholding it, so that their hands are not tied behind their backs, because we are dealing with Pakistani and foreign funded militants. More than 50-60% of the people who have the gun and who come for creating trouble in Kashmir Valley have crossed over from the border. Why have they crossed over from the border? That's another question. That is a separate question. But they have actually come from Afghanistan. They have come from. They
are not non-Kashmiri.
They are non-Kashmiris. They are not from Kashmir. These are facts. You cannot argue with facts. So I don't see any problem at all.
So basically the state has a duty to bring Kashmiris, build up their confidence, because they are not terrorists.
Of course.
They are citizens of this country.
No question, they are very lovable people, they are peace-loving people, they want the same economic reform so that economic justice is there. The land to the tiller was the original policy of the new Kashmir of Sheikh Abdullah in 1944. So where is the question? Kashmiris have been always basically a very secular people. The movements of Kashmiri Pandits was encouraged and abetted by the governor of the state, Jagmohan.
Yes.
And we don't want to go into details to rake up the mud, but the fact is, it is that we've had great Kashmiris. We've had P.N. Arsal, we had D.P. Dhar, we had R.N. Kaur, T.N. Kaul, we had and any number of people. And
they enjoyed
and Sheikh Abdullah himself.
And they were in power structure in Delhi from 1950s.
And Sheikh Abdullah himself, because the lion of Kashmir.
This impression is being given that Kashmiri Pandits have got nothing, but they were in power position from Nehru's time.
They have been army chiefs, from the great army chiefs of the Indian Army have been General T.N. Raina. I mean, I regard him as a great Indian army chief.
Mr. T.N. Kaul was foreign secretary, so I met him once and it was like so. T.N. Haksar, such a people.
The chap who really had a vision.
So the impression today is given, so Kashmiri Brahmins were not given any opportunity.
Small minority of people who have actually taken the bait of having tickets given to them, arrangements for their travel given to Delhi, and whatever else, I don't want to say. But they are Kashmiris, and Kashmiris are Kashmiris. Kashmiri. There is no difference. Even now today there are many people who are continuing to live in Kashmir in the same way. If you feed extremism or you feed a minority opinion of those who conjoined with the exodus of these people who left their homes, then you will create. But if you create the opposite condition, then there is no problem as far as
as a army person, admitted, but I am just talking in terms of uniform. Do you think that the forces, even in particular, in community's name or ethnic identity name like Garhwal or Kumaon regiment or Jat regiment or Mahan regiment, this should be disbanded, or this should be...
you see, this will happen gradually, because nothing should be done in a vast organization like the military, which is really at the core of the stability of India, in a manner which may be interpreted by certain political elements or segments as being
communal,
as being something which is going backwards. Actually, nothing. Army has been moving. They are mixed regiments now. Many regiments have been mixed. Even in the British days they were mixed. There are also arms of the service, like the engineer corps, like the signal corps, like the artillery, like the supply corps, like the ordnance corps, like the border roads, medical, which are not which have not been given. But what is historical is historical. So the compositions are being mixed in a particular way, and because the army is so diverse, you may have a chief from a particular state, but he doesn't belong to a state because he now belongs to India.
Yeah.
But a vice chief may be from there. The army commanders are from somewhere else. So the armed forces structure has been built over the years. So we don't have to get too worried about this thing, but because it will happen over a period of time. Let us not make this an issue. Let us leave it to the army organization. They have got tremendous experience of the history of the Indian Army, the way the Indian Army operates. The Adjutant General's branch has got the disciplinary history of the Indian Army. And the regimental this thing are there, and there is no feeling like that really, except very small elements who, in my experience, have not been promoted because of their own this thing, or because the cadre management is very difficult in the army because the vacancies are few. They become disgruntled elements. Some have got a natural tendency to gravitate to people who have got a different kind of ideology other than the Constitution of India. I want to say there is only one oath as far as the Indian Armed Forces is concerned. That is the oath to defend, protect the Constitution of India and the people of India. That is our oath. There is no other oath that we have. That supersedes anything which you say in battle, or a battle cry of a battle cry is when there is a battle cry when you go into battle. But at the back of it is you are defending the flag.
Yes.
You are defending the Union flag, the tricolor. You are defending the national anthem. You are the national anthem. At that time you become the national anthem. And what is at the back of all this? The Constitution of India. Constitution. In fact, that again and again in every field of activity of this country, in every segment of this country, in every part of this country, in every possible sector of endeavor, national endeavor, is the Constitution, which is really the inspirational document, it is the sacred document of the people of India. And that is, people of India include the armed forces of India. The armed forces of India are comprised of the people of India. They come from the Kisans, they come from the Mazdoors of India. They are Kisans in uniform. They go back to their villages. Still today, the majority of the soldiers are from the villages. Yes. They are the kith and kin and family of the villages. They are not from the town. Only few people are from the town. That is in some of the
Town people are not joining the army.
Huh?
The
middle
classes are
making money. They are making money or going abroad.
And then coming back and raising the flag and Bharat Mata ki Jai bol ke, then they say we are more Bharatiya than you. Have you ever faced, because you told me once that you had your ancestor was from Mangal Pandey.
Yes, he was.
And which generation
I
like?
come from a clan of Mangal Pandey. And I come from a region where, unfortunately or fortunately, which run the Bengal army, the British Bengal army was mostly comprised of the Purabiyal.
Okay.
That is people from East UP. But I also am proud that they were the people who raised the flag of freedom in 1857 and subsequently in a number, I think it was Basti, which actually declared independence, and they the whole British administration was put to a full stop in 1942 during the Quit India movement. I'm not saying. What I'm saying is that the people of India, the Bengal army, the Great Bengal army, and the Presidency Army of Bombay and the Presidency Army of Madras, the British, we served the British, it is a fact.
Yes.
But we also said no more. Firangi ko maro. Firangi bahar. That was also good. When they saw that there was a limit to injustice, and the injustice was not only some make story about the cartridges.
Absolutely.
It is injustice to the tiller, to to the person who toiled in the field, because they raised the revenue taxes and destroyed the agricultural economy of India.
I give one example from Uttarakhand, that one of the very gentleman was Chandra Singh Gadwani,
Yes.
and he was Havaldar
Yes.
in the army in the I think in Lahore के सम्मेलन में कांग्रेस का हो रहा था.
And he,
So then Khudai Kitbalgar were there protesting,
Yes.
and Chandra Singh Gadwani was leading that battalion, where this officer asked him to fire at them,
He said
and
no.
he said, "No, I will not fire."
Nobody fired.
Yeah.
Even Pathan did not
Yeah.
fire. The Indian Air Force did not bomb the RIN uprising in 1946. They were the spirit of freedom spread across the whole of the country and the whole of the armed forces almost. That the British decided we cannot rely on the Indian armed forces. And Nehru is acknowledged. Everybody is acknowledged. Azad Hind Fauj was a great inspiration for us. Who were the Azad Hind Fauj except the
Yes.
ex-Jawans, officers and Jawans?
All different creed, Muslim,
Everybody. It was a fantastic, Subhash Chandra Army was a fantastic, visibly secular army.
Yes.
Visibly secular army with a visible secular slogan and everything else. And look at the RIN uprising. The Indian Navy uprising again was a visible symbol of unity across the thing. I was just
Were
worried that
were you part of that time? Or?
No, not at all. I was not part, but I've studied the thing. I was just written the preface to the second edition of the RIN so-called mutiny, uprising by B.C. Dutt. And one can read what I have written. That's the time when the British
But
said,
you must have been in the 71 war.
I was,
in the
yes, I
71.
was, of course. And there was a war, Goa relations and
Acha, Goa liberation.
and also in 1921 also. Various of them, that's personal, that has nothing to do with the fact that one is of only one conviction. And that conviction is that we are here to defend the Constitution of India in the interests of the people of India and in the interests of the integrity of this country. There is no other thing in our life. We may go to a temple, there are temples and gurdwaras and masjids in the regimental centers, but that is just a personal faith. That is not the faith that we carry to our work and to our parade ground and to our offices and to our battle ground.
you don't feel any threat with these communal elements trying to
There is, of course there is. It would be foolish to disregard all these things because negative forces sometimes, and particularly in adverse economic conditions, which are also a cause of the rise of fascism because they are taking the lumpen elements of the policy, uneducated, completely ignorant, completely willing to join a vigilante group, SS in Germany or brown shirts in Italy. That is a long time ago. But today in the world, in many of the European countries and America and various other countries, such elements do exist. So the threat always exists, even Pakistan. What else is it except fascist conglomeration? Because the military and the political class and the bureaucratic class are all allied to the business class, which itself is allied to the business classes in the
So sometimes sometimes what happens that the business interest and the business interest may come after the retirement as going.
That is the fact.
So that's why this whole war cries and hysteria and everything.
That is true. There are three generals over here. One doesn't have to name them because
No,
you've seen them in all the
Yes,
various
yes.
shows.
Oh.
Everything is Pakistan.
One
Everything
general
is war.
was crying
And
actually.
they don't know anything. How they became generals is a very
So there is a book, recent book, which I won't name the book, but it actually says that we don't owe our freedom to Gandhi, but more to the mutiny by the INA, RIN.
I don't subscribe to that view either. That is incorrect. Because no mutiny, no armed forces uprising, no armed forces movement can
succeed.
be in a vacuum. It has to be in the context of the vast majority of the people.
Yes.
Its heart and soul has to be the people of the country because it is comprised of the people of this country. The armed forces are a microcosm of the people of India, and the Navy has no such difficulty. The Navy has no symbols of that type. Fortunately, we have a different culture. Of course, there are fringe elements even in the Navy who subscribe to communal ideology kind of thing. But that is inevitable because you cannot have a clean slate in a political economy which is itself actually creates conditions
Yes, yeah.
for
That's,
fascist advance.
how do we like
Because self-privatization and unbridled capitalism and deregulation is actually a fertile ground for fascism. It is
Yes.
already preparing the ground for them. Nobody should say that, oh, so-and-so did this. They themselves are a part of it. So if I may interrupt you, the 1991-92 surrender, which is called the reforms period, is actually a period of invitation to fascism because neoliberal political economies give rise to fascist.
So basically the structural changes that came to India, the economic changes that happened after
They are the
1990.
bedrock. They are the bedrock, and we will have to fight against them. We cannot have the.
So,
we cannot
the biggest victim of this, because the opinion makers are benefiting from this.
Yes.
So the biggest victims are those who are unable to work. I call them Anam Admi, not even Aam Admi. So Adivasis, Dalits,
They are the majority.
They are the majority.
They are the majority.
And
There is no doubt in anybody's mind that the oppressed classes
are the
not
majority.
poor. Or the charity terms
Yeah,
by
yeah.
Jesus
Oppressed
Christ.
class. Yeah.
The oppressed class, the exploited class.
Exploited
I am
class.
using Dr. Ambedkar's word. I am not using anybody else's.
You have used a lot of terms of Dr. Ambedkar, and you say constitution is the bedrock of bringing people together.
Yeah.
What are the ideas of Dr. Ambedkar which you feel are important to bring together these people?
This idea of people of the ruled class by the ruling class. The struggle of the ruled classes against the struggle of the oppressed against the oppressors. The creation of a broad front of not only people who are born in scheduled caste and scheduled tribe or scheduled caste in particular, but the broadest front of the working classes, the working people of India. That is not only the factory people, the unorganized classes,
The agricultural labor.
the landless workers, majority of whom are Dalits. It so happens that the majority of them, that's why he talked about the nationalization of land. Because Dalits had no land in any case, so what are you going to give to them?
Yeah.
And so, I mean, his ideas are fundamentally the ideas of an Indian revolution, actual real revolution, real freedom, real azadi, real, which couldn't happen in 1947. But the document that gave legitimacy to that struggle for economic and political emancipation is the Constitution of India. We don't have to go to any other document in any other country.
I think that's
There is no need.
That's very
Because
important.
Dr. Ambedkar was far-sighted. Many things he did not say. Many things he did not say were said in private.
Yeah.
Foreseeing the struggle, after all, he is a practical man. He founded the River Waters Commission of India. He founded the Electricity Act of 1948. He formed the Labour Commission of India. What all he did in those 5 years in the council when he was in
Viceroy's council.
Viceroy's council is amazing. Actually, my long last shall I say sadness is that he was not made the finance and economics minister.
That was the crux actually. That is the
He becomes the law minister.
no, but that is
Okay,
actually
it's an important point.
this was the definitely he wanted to be in finance.
Yes.
And
There was no man more qualified than him.
So tragic actually. A man of
It
his
was very tragic,
qualification.
very
And-
sad. I don't know what circumstances were there.
And then
But we do not know the records of the
Yeah,
conversations
yeah.
of the people who influenced the first cabinet of
Yes.
post-constitution India. Shall I say.
Yes,
But
absolutely.
so
Because even when he resigned, he was not persuaded to,
His ideas are the most powerful ideas in the Indian context. If you take Bhagat Singh along with it, if you take the other people along with it, so many
because
people.
even today after
Even if you want to take, you take Vivekananda. Vivekananda is not somebody else's man, he is a man of India.
yes, yeah, it's anti-caste, anti-anti-Semitic.
Everything. They have picked him up and said something else.
Yeah, so that means we the problem was in the last 50 years is secular, so-called Sarkari secular, I would say. they actually ignored the legacy of this great secular movement of India. So they forgot to, respect Subhash Chandra Bose. They forgot to take legacy of Bhagat Singh.
Yes.
So Bhagat Singh became their symbol.
Yes.
And Vivekanand, they grabbed. And they were.
Vivekanand would be turning in his grave.
Yes, yes. And then now Ambedkar.
Now Ambedkar.
So I
So
say,
Ambedkar, because Ambedkar Jubilee or something is being celebrated,
Yeah.
and people have been given crores, 2 crores, 5 crores, 7 crores to hold symposiums and seminars, but Ambedkar has nothing to do with them.
as long as Rohit Mullas are being killed in the academic institution.
Rohit is one. What about every day?
Agricultural labor every day, women is being raped, murdered, killed. So and then we say,
Dalits along with the minorities, along
Yeah,
with
no,
other
yes,
oppressed
absolutely.
sections are really the most oppressed sections of our society.
and as long as they don't get justice, then they will take justice in their hand.
Yeah, they will. That's what our Dr. Ambedkar said. He said that.
Yeah.
There's no ambiguity about that was. There's no way you can separate the constitution and this post-constitution declaration. That without political and economic equality and social justice cannot be delivered. I mean, I'm just paraphrasing it.
No, that was when he gave the constitution first draft
Yeah.
and the statement that the contradiction between social and political life.
Of course.
I think that is a great statement.
Of course, great statement, great paragraph, but it has been never said over here now in all these seminars. It will start another 14th April, is
Yes.
the great day of
Yeah.
birth. That is how many days?
3-4 days later.
6 days, 6 today, 10 days on, henceforth. Nobody will talk about this. Nobody will talk about his economic philosophy, economic justice. Nobody. Because they want to bury, like Gandhi also is buried. I gave a presentation on the economic philosophy of Mahatma Gandhi in an international seminar in Indore. And here's an admiral giving, I can send you that also on Gandhi. But worth it. Gandhiji was revolutionary in many ways. Gandhiji evolved. There's no static Gandhi. There's no Gandhi and Ambedkar in Pune. There are both Gandhi and Ambedkar who are post-Pune, who are striving for
Yes.
the ideals of Indian society and
Yes.
civilization over the years, thousands of years. After all, the Dalits and the Shudras ruled India. Are we
Yes.
forgetting that?
Yes.
The greatest modern empire was built on the
Ashoka's empire.
Ashoka, sorry, was built on the shoulders of the Shudras and the Dalits. They are the builders of India. Everything that is built, everything that is produced has been produced by the hands and the willpower and the minds of these working people, I will say, political. That Indian rituals and Manusmriti was such, parts of Manusmriti were such, that they exploited the labor and condemned the labor.
Yes, that's it.
That is
Condemn
the
the
greatest
labor.
injustice that you can have. That is why he says Azadi from Manusmriti, Manuvad.
Yes,
It is not it has nothing to do with, I'm not hitting out with it. I'm just saying that it was reducing a great civilizationist ideas from Buddha. Great. Buddha was I would say the earliest Dalit in many ways. Because Baudd, that's what the Dalit follow. I am a Baudd in spirit. I am nothing else but a Baudd. I am follower of Gautam Buddha. What did Gautam Buddha say? Gautam Buddha said there is no God. There is no soul. There is the only duty of man is to end exploitation of man by man and to remove the dukkha from the life. And this is exactly what the Bhagavata says. There is no difference. But Buddha is such a great man.
Yes.
After trying all the rituals and penances, the water and the tortoise biting him and the fish biting him, he said, this is not the one which will work. The work is done in this manner that if you are determined, even God and the soul were not so important. The question was that the greatest good that one can do is to end the exploitation of man by another man. That is the entire philosophy of Gautam Buddha.
I think that's the whole, I would say even Dr. Ambedkar, Buddha, Gandhi.
All inspired by him.
So,
He has written a whole monograph on this. Full mark, 1 mark after.
We have heard Admiral Bhagwat, and I wish there are more such people in the uniform who can speak of the great tradition of India's, legendary leaders, social reformers like Buddha, Ambedkar, Periyar, Phule, Gandhi, Vivekananda, and among very few, Bhagat Singh, of course. Bhagat Singh, people try to make him like a jingoistic, nationalistic person, but Bhagat Singh ideals. So, thank you very much, sir, for enlightening us, and I'm sure this conversation will give many ideas to people, that people in uniform who fought war for India, who defended India's integrity, talk of peace and talk of development of everyone.